Welcome to the Get Sellers Calling You podcast for Christian real estate agents, where we help you grow your business with some great marketing tips and grow your faith with some powerful, radical faith Bible teachings. I'm Beatty Carmichael, and I'm glad you joined us. Today, we're going to be talking about growing your business with some great marketing tips. But first, I'd like you to hear from one of our Agent Dominator clients.
One of the things that surprised me with Agent Dominator was the quick path to success. So when we started with Agent Dominator mailings to the geographic firm area, I did a lot of research, and this particular area was one that really looked like a good area, with one exception. There were two agents that had very strong market share. Both of them had double-digit market shares there. And that's typically a type of area that you would avoid. But we really felt strongly that we could make some headway there. So we went ahead and started. In the first 6 months with Agent Dominator, we took 5 listings, and within 12 months, I was the number one agent in that geographic area and maintained that every year. As a matter of fact, this is my 7th year. I've sold more homes there in the last 7 years than anybody else. Farming is a very popular way to generate listings. And to put it in perspective, the traditional thought is that it takes a year to 2 in order to make any headway. As a matter of fact, I know personally a very aggressive, very hardworking team who started a farm, and they didn't get a listing their entire first year. Now, this is about their 4th year in the business, and they have a tremendous market share, but it took them a while to get there. And to put that in perspective, in the first 6 months with Agent Dominator mailing into that area, we took 5, I think it might even been 6 listings, but I know it was a minimum of 5 listings in the first 6 months of mailing with Agent Dominator. And I think the reason for that is because the marketing process that's done is a true marketing process, not just a generic contact month after month. So if you're thinking about Agent Dominator, I can only tell you that it is an investment, and the return on investment that I've gotten from Agent Dominator has met my standards, which are pretty high.
Learn how Agent Dominator services can help you grow your business and get more listings. Visit us at agentdominator.com. And now, let's get started on the podcast. So hello, everyone. This is Beatty Carmichael again with Get Sellers Calling You. And I have a very special guest today. He's one of our clients, and I've just fallen in love with just visiting with him and what he's done in his business, because it's quite substantial. And it's Arya Rabinovits from New York State. So Arya, say hello.
Hey, Betty, how are you?
I am blessed, and thank you, Arya, for being on this call with us.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to share real quickly for those of you listening. As you know, I try to interview top producers and just to identify what is it that makes a top producer produce well, and hopefully give you some ideas and some little nuggets that you can take out of the conversation that you can apply to your business. And Arya is actually on the upper end of the top producers that I've ever interviewed. So you're going to really love this. He's made it there in a very short period of time. And once we start to get talking, you'll understand why. But with that, Arya, again, thank you for taking some time out today. I know your schedule is busy. And would love just to hear a little bit about who you are. Can you give us just some background on you, anything on how you came into the real estate business, or before, anything that the Lord puts on your heart just to share?
So thank you, Betty, again for the nice intro. How I got into the industry was pretty much, I started doing some flipping homes, fix and flips.
Okay.
I built some new homes ground up. Throughout that years and that time, what I realized was that most of the time, and as you know, in this industry, and everybody was flipped or build a home, and sometimes you make money, sometimes you don't make money. That's completely fine when you're in business. Yep. You just have to learn from the mistake. But what I realized after, I would say 18 months, 2 years, is most of the time when I lost money on a project wasn't because I did something specifically wrong because the team did something wrong. It was because the real estate agent we had trusted literally didn't guide us well.
Really?
And we look back transaction after transaction. I did a lot. I had a couple partners with that, and I still do some. I just don't have that much time to do a lot of them. And each and every one, thank God, has produced profit. But what we realized after looking back 18 months, 2 years, that when we lost big chunks of money was because that person guiding us through the process literally didn't have our best interest, was just trying to get another deal done.
I was wondering, let me pause on that real quick because I think there are a lot of agents who work with investors like you. Can you go into a little bit more detail on generally what did they do that cost you money so our agents can kind of sense what they need to be careful about?
So number one, if you don't know a specific neighborhood into detail and you want to go do an investment in there, a flip or whatever, you really have to nail down the comps, the comparables for that home, very detailed and conservatively, because you got to be ready for something that might eat it up, right? So, but not, for example, not to talk against any other agents, because as I'm in the industry today, I already know, like in every other industry, there are good people, better people, and not somebody that's good. Not necessarily because they have intent to harm, they just don't have the knowledge and experience dialed down.
That makes
So,
sense.
not because they mean to be bad, but it's unfortunately very easy to get into the industry, not have the right knowledge, and just unfortunately mess up for other people. It's just an unfortunate truth that everybody does a lot of business will tell you, right?
So
So
was it mostly that they failed to do enough detail on the comps to understand the value? That's where you're going?
that's one of
Okay.
them. And if you don't understand that, and you can, let's say there is a home on this side in the neighborhood, it could be the same school system, same zip code, same size home, but it's on the other side of the highway, two different pockets within a city, within a subdivision. There's different values. There is no way for me or anybody else to know it unless you are literally tuned in. So you can comp it out to a left side home to something that's on the right side. Let's say there is a highway in between their runs or whatever the divide there is, and that ends up being a big difference in money.
Yeah.
Like it can be a difference 50, 100,000 depending in the neighborhood, and that really eats up everything.
That's
Number
interesting.
two,
Go ahead.
sorry about that.
I was just going to say that I had the same issue. We were selling a home and had an agent that didn't understand our neighborhood from the surrounding neighborhoods. And so they said, well, you ought to price at this point, which was $75,000 less than the value. And I said, nope, we're going to move to a different agent. So I totally get that.
Yeah, so that's unfortunately a reality. And number two is just like finishes you got to do in a certain neighborhood for a certain flip wasn't advised well.
Okay.
So either we ended up spending too much for a specific home or too less that the neighborhood didn't appreciate it. I had both scenarios, but I did a lot of them. And after looking at all of these projects, it was very hard to see lose money. Very hard. I can't even begin to describe it to you on such a short call. But after you get passed through it and you move forward in life, one of the things I realized was that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go make my license, start taking care of my own. The next flip I did after I had my license, I put on the MLS, sold it on my own. One of the buyers that came through to the open house told me he doesn't want to work with an agent. He didn't buy that home, but I ended up connecting with him, took his information, obviously, ended up showing him a couple more homes. 4 weeks later, he was in contract on another home. And the rest is history. After he went into contract, he was like, Arya, look, I never planned on using any agent, especially not forget a buyer's agent. I mean, it's a pretty savvy market here, but like you were just so honest with me about every detail in every home, even in your own home, that I decided I want to give you a chance. Just for the record, that buyer still doesn't know that I have never sold another home before I met him.
Oh, that's funny.
So once he started giving me his feedback, I was like, you know what? Let me try it again. And I started telling some other friends, some people I knew, look, I'm going to start doing retail real estate. A lot of people literally laugh. They're like, oh, you're never going to make it. Such a tough industry, such a tough market. But I'm like, look, I'm willing to take the chance. I think I can provide a service that almost nobody else is providing over here in my market. And obviously, God controls the world, and it's literally history. I never planned on doing the amount of volume and in depth care so much for clients that I do today.
Let me
So
ask you
that's
a
pretty
question.
much how I got into it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's interesting that that buyer was saying that you were so honest. And as I've spoken with you and as we work together, one of the things that has come up as I was uh, interviewing you, so to speak, about your market so we could put things together for you, there's just a sense of, you kept saying that as you talk to your people, as you engage with them, that you're just very honest, that you are very upfront. Help me understand. So most agents out there will all say, I'm honest and I work with integrity, but there's something that sets you apart from others. Can you break that down a little bit more? What drives you? What are you doing that makes them
To give you an
feel you're more
example,
honest? Yeah.
yeah, great question. Give you an example, whatever it's a seller or a buyer. So let's say it's a buyer, and you really need to understand what they're looking for, right? To
Okay.
start, so you can be honest with them. So if they tell you, let's say, we're willing to work with some renovation, but we're not willing to do big ticket items, and you walk into a home where you see all the windows need to be changed, don't tell them that's not a big deal. A contractor can change it. Yeah, I know a contractor can change it, but that's a big ticket item, because once you start replacing windows, and as you probably know, Betty, the framing around it might be rotten. Once you start opening up that can of worms, there's so much you go into that is a big ticket item that people don't want to play with. That somebody who says, I don't want to do a lot of work, that's what they mean. They
Okay.
just can't point it out to you because they don't even know what's a big ticket item. You really need to have experience with homes, which I had prior to doing that. So I knew when somebody tells me they don't want to do a big deal, I know you don't want to change 10 windows in a home. One window, okay. 10 windows, opening up that can of worms, you just don't know where it ends, right? I rather tell people that changing a kitchen is a small ticket item, because you don't got to start changing a lot of framing around it. And this is
Right.
what, let's say, for example, a buyer like, it's not just me trying to push them and tell them, oh, the kitchen like is like, that's a big deal. The windows is easy. No, it's actually not true, right? So once they realize that you really understand, people like that. People want somebody and appreciate somebody with knowledge and somebody who's telling them the truth.
Can you
Just
give me
like when
another?
you go to a doctor, right?
Right. Give me another example. I love the idea of windows. I mean, we've been actually thinking about replacing our windows, and I'm going, that looks like it's going to be real expensive.
Yeah, so depending how many windows you have, I mean, here in the neighborhood, a nice home, it can end up costing you between 50, 70, it can cost you over $80,000 to replace all windows, material and labor, right? That's just one thing that it's way more than a kitchen, right? That's one. And I'll say if you meet, like I met, to give you an example of a seller, like I met yesterday with a seller here. They have been on the market for over 3 years with many different agents, and they
Wow.
so far haven't sold their home. I met with them yesterday for the first time, and we had obviously previous call over an hour, and this is when I didn't ask them for the appointment. After the call, they asked me to come, because
Okay.
when it's a seller like that I've been going through a lot, I don't want to push myself into the situation. It's either they appreciate my knowledge, they want my experience, or I don't want. It's not for me, right? So when I walked through the home with them, I showed them, look, I don't know what other people told you about this bathroom, but this bathroom pushes people out of the home. It's blue. It's not blue from 1980. It's a modern blue from 2023. But most of the millennials, Gen Z buyers, or whatever generation it is, don't want that in their house. So
Mm.
they don't want to insult you because it's really a nice product. So they keep giving you the wrong feedback. But I feel that's, for example, is one problem, and they appreciated it. Like I'm not gonna try to sugar talk them into something and then have the same problem that everybody else had with them. There's no point. I rather lose the deal and be honest with them. That's what it boils down to.
You know what strikes me as I'm talking with you on this, because I've been on both sides. I mean, both the seller and the buyer. And it and this is what I remember in another environment, I left someone who was giving me good advice because I thought he was trying to sell me. And there was a sense of he was trying too hard to be overly nice and overly persuasive. And I kind of turned off from that. And that's what I gather from you is as you're going through this, the picture I get is you're trying to project yourself into your client and say, if you knew what I knew, here's what you would be seeing and what you would come to the conclusions of. That does that make sense?
That's exactly right. We respectfully agree to disagree. Otherwise, it's not a healthy relationship, right?
Right. That is really good. And as I think back on as we were looking at houses and interviewing agents, I got the feeling that the agent was just looking for another deal, right?
Yeah, and most of the time, from the agents I know, not just in our market, like as you know, we always collaborate with agents all over, right? I think a lot of it comes from an agent being really desperate.
Very good.
They're being really, really desperate, and that's when you make stupid decisions.
How can
You
you,
have to detach your emotions from it. That's it.
right? Yeah. I remember
I know it's
talking,
hard, easier said than done. You got to work on it. But when you figure that out, like you lose a listing, you lose a buyer. It just doesn't matter, you know? There's so much business out there. Like in
you
the
know,
beginning, it was very hard, very
yeah.
hard. But then as you learn to detach from, like, it's nothing to do personal with me. It's just very easy to move on.
Now you have a pretty strong faith in the Lord to provide for you, right? That He's going to take care of you as you go through. I mean, because I've heard
Obviously,
your
God is
comment.
the only one.
Right.
That's the only body that's taking care of anything.
I agree. And I think, and I wanted to make a point on that because much of my audience are very religious. And what happens, I think, is when times get tight, like right now, times are tight for a lot of real estate agents, and you tend to get desperate, and therefore you tend to say it's up to me, and you try to manipulate the situation so the client works with you. But yet, if you detach yourself and say, basically, it's God who provides for me, and therefore I'm going to trust Him, and I'm going to take myself out of the equation. I'm simply going to advise my client in what's best for them, even if it means I lose the deal. That's what you're talking about, is that total
Correct.
separation.
That's exactly right. Because it's very hard to detach, but when you do it and you really guide people honesty with complete honesty, the business will come.
Yes. And you sense it. You pick up on it really quick. As a client, they pick up that
100%.
very
People are not stupid. They know if you really here for them or not. If
right.
they feel you're here for them, you're gonna get their business.
Well, even my relationship with you, I remember the first call we had, it was kind of standoffish, right? And you weren't sure where this was going. And then by the second or third call, as you started to know me, I've sensed that you've really kind of warmed up because you know that I've got your best interest at heart.
Yeah, that part is true. I gotta give you that. You weren't pushing, and I like that because you spoke the way I talk to other people, right?
Hmm.
That's the way you build a relationship. It's building relationship, but it got to be a healthy relationship.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to take us too far off track, but I wanted to touch on that because I thought that was really important, really special that you were honest. And if I could kind of encapsulate what this term of honesty means, because I think a lot of agents have a trouble with, they say I'm honest, but yet it doesn't come across. And it almost as if what I'm seeing in my mind's eye, Arya, is this honesty that you're talking about that your buyers and clients pick up from you, is the fact that number one, you're knowledgeable about the market, about the product and what needs to be done, or if it's a buyer client, what they will need to do on that house. But you're also completely detached from trying to make a deal happen because you are 100% focused only on serving them, knowing that your God is going to take care of you, and therefore you don't have to fight for it. You're going to do the right thing for the client, even if it means losing that deal. That's honesty.
Correct.
Right. I've never heard it that way, so I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So so we were back to your first buyer client. You said, "Oh, this is interesting," and then you started to get into retail a little bit more. So pick up your story from there.
I just started telling a couple of people, like I told you before, and I started doing a deal here and a deal there. I ended up doing my first year, I think it was 20 deals. I don't have the numbers right in
Your
front of
first
me.
year, 20
Yeah.
deals. Oh my gosh, I love it. Now, I have to ask, were you just talking to everyone? How do you go from just getting started to doing 20 deals in your first year?
Obviously, I was in the industry.
Okay.
Like I've built and flipped homes, so I've known sort of people. So I just started talking to people in the industry.
Okay.
Um, and it was if my first year was pretty much, I would say, all sphere, like people you've spoken with before, pretty much almost all of it. I believe almost all of them were buyers, maybe one or two sellers. I don't have the sheet in front of me. But
So
that
so
was
the
pretty much
so these people, these weren't other investors that you dealt with. These were just individuals.
maybe two or three.
Okay.
You're going back here a few
Yep.
years. I don't remember offhand, but it's like maybe two to four investors who bought like multifamily or other small homes to flip. But other than that, it was pretty much first time home buyers.
Wow. That's impressive. So then what happened after that first year? And what did you learn in that first year? So um, things that you learned to continue to do and things you learned to not do.
I haven't learned yet what not to do in the first year, but what I've realized is that hard work always wins, right? No matter what. I'm talking about real hustling. If you want to break through in this industry, it was not easy. I'm not gonna sit there and lie. It was easy. It was very hard, but the hard work, like it literally helped me break through the industry.
So define hard work in that first year. What did it mean making lots of phone calls, or did it mean looking at lots of homes for buyers? How is it defined?
Every buyer that came through me that I knew they pre-approved, motivational, they have every reason to move in the next 12 months.
Okay.
Every home that they wanted to see, I was there. Didn't matter if it was 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. It literally didn't matter.
Okay.
8 in the morning before work, lunchtime, you name it, I was there. I knew I have to do something nobody's willing to do to break through.
Oh, that's a great statement. Let me had to do something no one else was willing to do to break through. No
That's pretty
boundaries.
much what I did. Obviously, there is boundary, but in terms
Right.
of like when and what, I was like, whenever you want to see it, I'm here for you. I'm gonna help you buy a home.
Fascinating. I was just as a corollary, I was just watching a video on Shopify. It was a promotional video on how to use Shopify, and this customer of theirs was talking. When they set up their Shopify account, he had two other partners. They got their first order, and they stopped their entire meeting and went immediately back to their house to get that product, package it up, and send it out. It was like the most important thing is what has to be done for the client right then without saying, well, I'm busy right now, I'll do it later. That's what I'm hearing from you is no matter what time you want to see it, I'll do it with you.
That's it. It is very hard. I'm not saying it's easy. It's absolutely hard, but I knew I had to do it.
Okay. And now that you're about 5 or 6 years in, how long have you been selling retail?
Yeah, full time, 6 years, 6, 7 years.
Okay. Is it as hard for you today as it was then? Or, I mean, does the level of effort continue, or does it level out and start to decrease for you?
Very, very different. It's not even a comparison.
Okay, that's
Completely different. Like there is no such thing I work at night.
right.
No such thing as run around with a buyer. I mean, there's so many different things. I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay. Well, we'll
I
get
pretty
there.
much I
That's what I
work
want to hear. Yeah.
I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm in the office 7:45 latest every morning. I'm at my desk, and sometimes 7:30, 7:45 to be honest. And I can sometimes end my day there. About yesterday, I walked out of the office 12:15.
Okay.
I went on an appointment, and that was pretty much my afternoon. I mean, I was back home 4 o'clock with my kids. Um, Played with them, talked with them. Dad and kids, right? I got a family, which I love to spend time with. So I don't care who it is, seller, buyer. You can't just call me up 4 o'clock and say, hey, I gotta talk to you. Obviously, I'm on the phone, I'm available, but my clients know that things, as much as we can, we try to schedule it. Nothing is a 911. Nothing need to happen in 1 second. I mean, it used to be people were calling me like late at night and I would pick up. It just doesn't happen. My phone automatically goes to voicemail. I don't want to tell you exactly what time, but pretty early.
I love it. So that's good to know. I just want our people to hear that working as hard as you can doesn't have to continue for the rest of your life. You do have some throttles.
You got to focus, right? So
Yeah.
I don't work Saturdays, obviously.
Yep.
Right? There's no such a thing. So I don't work Fridays. I don't almost work Fridays. I'm coming in the office a little bit in the morning, like wrap up a couple easy stuff, like to finish up the week. That's pretty much it.
Very
I
good.
go out with my kids every week, Friday afternoon. They know it. Friday afternoon, we're going out, no matter what. I don't care who calls. I'd rather lose a deal. I almost never lost a deal because of not working Saturday, but because, to be blunt, because of being Jewish. But I believe through the entire time, maybe a couple times, like 2, 3 times, people, and they were just, once they made statements like that, the conversation was over. I never spoke with them again, obviously, because it wasn't about me not working Saturday. It was about other things, right?
Yeah.
So
I've heard
that's where
this.
the conversation ends. Sunday, I do work. I would say, I'm not going to say every Sunday, but I work a lot of Sundays. Not all day, but I do I love doing open houses. So that's something I do Sundays.
It's interesting because I've spoken with a number of Christian real estate agents who take the same level of conviction on Sunday as you do on Saturday.
Correct.
And they say, if a client is going to flush me because I won't work on Sunday, I
I don't
don't
want to
want
work for
to.
them.
Yeah, exactly. That was the same thing. And it works best that way. So I
That's
love it.
it. I almost never had it. Like, really, I can count you on my fingers scenarios where I had an incident like that. Almost never had it.
Yep.
Is it hard work? I think the hard work used to be hours and like no timing, no schedules. Right now, it's more about being super focused and organized. And I can get done between 8 and 2 in a regular day. What most people don't get done, I would say, I'm telling you, literally in 2, 3 days during the week.
I believe it. No, having spoken with you, I believe it. So tell me about year number 2. What happened in year number 2?
Still work with a lot of buyers, like picked up a couple sellers. It was same hard work. Like nothing really changed until I think I was into the end of my 3rd year, my 4th year. I think this is when things started turning around.
Okay. Could they have turned around earlier had you known what you knew at the end of your 3rd and 4th year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So I don't work under like one of these big brokerages.
Right.
I did not have a coach, a mentor when I started. I had nothing.
Okay.
All I did was literally on my own, what I knew, helping people. That's it. That's where it started, and that's where it finished. What have I known? A lot of other things that I know today. Yeah, absolutely.
If you want more listings, we guarantee them an Agent Dominator. Whether you're marketing to a geographic farm, past clients and sphere of influence, a niche market, or even commercial property owners, our fully customized postcards produce up to 10 times more results than standard real estate postcards. And we guarantee your listings or your money back. So visit us at agentdominator.com to learn more. And now, back to the podcast. So what did you figure out at the end of your 3rd or 4th year that you wish you had figured out at the end of your 1st or 2nd year?
Networking with people.
Tell me more.
nonstop, like
Okay.
just network with people and people you like and understand. Like, don't try to network with people that don't fit into your category.
Okay.
Nothing with religious, Christian, Jewish people. Just there's all kinds of people,
Hmm.
and people's minds work differently, right? People are in different sort of mindset. When you try to attract the same kind of people, it's just going to be much easier. You know who to network with.
So help me understand what that means for you. Because if I can understand it for you, then our people that are listening can maybe reinterpret that and translate it for
Sure.
them.
So let's say you go to an event, right?
Okay.
You make small talk with people, right? Which
Right.
we all do when we go to events. You got to have that sense to figure out who is really the person you understand yourself with. Who do you think? Let's say if you in a room, if you sit in a dentist office in the waiting room, and there are 5 other people sitting there, and you get the opportunity to talk with all of them, who would you have the easiest time to speak with?
Okay.
That's the people you want to try to connect with. It's not all 5 people. You're not going to gain from all 5 people. You're not going to win everybody. You want to try to identify very quickly who is that person I can connect with easily. Right? Who do I understand myself with? If you really talk to somebody for literally, I'm not going to say 5 minutes, but a few minutes, it's a short period of time, you should be able to figure that out.
That makes a lot of sense. And then, so once you identify those people that you connect with, right?
Correct.
Then networking for you means what? Where do you take it from there? How do you do it?
I mean, everybody has different places they go to, right? Different things they attend. It's pretty much, I mean, the biggest way to connect with people is face to face. I don't think
Okay.
anybody can dispute that, right?
Right.
And that's really what it boils down to, like connecting with people.
So are you doing things like just building relationships? Hey, let's go out and grab a bite to eat. Or are you, what does it look like? If I were to take 10 people that you're quote unquote networking with, what are you doing? Is it simply relationship building, like just being friends with them, or is it something more strategic?
Obviously strategic,
Right.
but that's why I said you got to know who you try to do it strategically with. If
Okay.
you're just going to go with everybody, it's not going to work. It needs
Right.
to
It
be
falls
able
apart.
to be human nature to really connect with them. So it's either you go to an event, whatever. For me, it's synagogue, obviously, right? Or other people go whatever clubs or church, whatever it is, right? Um, Past clients, talk to them, right? If they see they care, they'll send you other people's business. Um, if there is, what did I want to say? Open houses is a big deal.
Okay.
Really a big deal. You get to connect with people very easily there because they come to you.
Oh,
I just had recently last summer, one summer before in 2022. There is a very big businessman here in New York that somebody introduced me to, that he will be that he's looking to sell his home. He hasn't sold it yet. So just think about that. It's been over 18 months
okay.
that I've been communicating with him. And that's very common in this industry. It takes a long time, and most people don't have the patience.
And
And this guy called me one day back after speaking to him a couple of times. He's like, Arya, I want to meet you this evening. It was 12 in the afternoon. Yeah, my schedule was open. I met him about 5, 6 o'clock. He's like, we met with him with his wife, right? They're getting ready to downsize. But he's like, after I didn't understand why he's showing me his home and doing all of this. Well, when somebody has a multi-million-dollar home to sell, you don't tell them I don't want to do the walkthrough, okay?
right,
Even
right.
if they're only ready in 2 years, you just gotta go. It's suicide to do that, right? After I finish with him, he's like, Arya, I'm not ready to sell it now. We're still a couple months out. I have a friend He gives me an address that lives here and there that is looking to sell within the next 3 weeks. Can you help him?
Wow.
And that's why he called me over. He didn't want to refer me to that other family before he meets me personally.
Okay.
That other family lives in the farm where I mainly farm. Never in my life would I be able to connect with them without meeting that other person. So when I see incidents like this is always what keeps pushing me. Hey, just keep networking with people. Whatever way you do it, like you can go door knock, you can mail, you can prospect, you can open houses. I always tell other agents, don't get stuck in what somebody else does. It doesn't matter. The point is to build relationships with people. If you really build healthy relationships with people, the business will come. Like that, I have examples like that all the time. And this was just something that was like, because they live in two opposite neighborhoods, right? Same county, but two opposite neighborhoods. It was mind blowing to me when he told me, Arya, I have a friend in that neighborhood that's looking to sell like now. I was like, wow. And he told me, that's why I called you. He told me afterwards, I needed to meet you first before I refer you to my friend. Right? He wanted to see how I act, what I do, what I know, what I don't know. He felt comfortable. Immediately, he referred me.
Dissect for me, if you would, the things that you remember with this businessman and your first meeting with him, and what were any other subsequent touches? I mean, did you just call him up and say hi? Did you see him at other parties or other events? What was that process? Anything?
So, no, somebody obviously I know from a previous transaction. This is all a chain of reaction.
Right.
Introduced me to him. So we emailed each other. I don't want to keep people's information private. I know he's a private sort of guy. We emailed back and forth. We scheduled the time to talk. It was only 6 months later where he invited me over to his home.
Okay.
After following up for 6 months.
So he was referral, and then y'all met 6 months later. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, we were talking, and then he immediately referred me to somebody else.
Okay. So this is what happened at the end of your third year and into the fourth year is you started to really focus on the networking side of things.
Correct.
And before then and after then, what happened to your business? Was it
completely 360? Like, we already spoke about that, but just to tell the listeners, I barely work with any buyers. I got a showing agent that works with me that if I have any buyers, she will go and she will show. Unless there is a specific reason I have to go to the property. Then otherwise, I usually won't go. I mainly work with sellers these days.
And just to, because I think this is going to be humorously funny, the showing agent, when you have these buyers, these are not like at $500,000 homes, but these are in the upper end, even in the $1 million price point.
Yes, yeah.
And you won't even show those homes. You have someone else to show them for you.
And that's a simple, not because I don't want the money. I'm not gonna lie, but it could be I'm losing some deals because of that. I actually know I do, because never think that everybody is replaceable, right? We know that in business, but everybody also has a different approach and different things they're really good at.
Right.
So I'm way better at being to service for the sellers I work with than to go around on countless amount of appointments with the buyer.
That makes sense.
So I just feel my time is way more valuable to them and they appreciate it. And I like what I do. If you like what you do, everything is different. Like I really love what I do, to put it to you blunt. Like I just get up every morning and I just do my job with a passion. I'm happy I can do it. I can help people move to their next stage in life.
I love it. So the big rocks that I'm picking up along the way, number one, be honest. And being honest with your clients means completely separate yourself from trying to make a deal happen. Number two is in the early stages, do whatever it takes within obviously moral and other boundaries, but do whatever it takes. Number three, start to really focus on networking. And let me ask a little bit deeper on the networking. Are you networking with people who have given you no indication yet that they're even thinking about selling? In other words, are you just
Absolutely.
okay? So the networking isn't saying, well, if there's no indication they're interested in buying or selling, I'm not going to waste time with them. You're not
There's
doing
no
that,
such a thing. You never know that. That would be an insane thing to assume for
right?
any agent because you never know who
Right.
they know, what they know. The story like I just told you, right? Somebody lives 45 minutes away in the same county, tells you about somebody in the city you heavily focus on. This was like the best lesson for me ever, probably that in that season. Like I couldn't believe it. Like that guy who lives so far away tells me about a guy in my backyard that wants to sell. And my showing agent, I strongly encourage her all the time to network with people. And she, because I know now that this is a big deal, and obviously she's getting better and better at it, and she picks up clients that way, and it
Cool.
builds the pipeline.
So now your business has shifted. You're now focused mostly on sellers and networking. What's the next thing that you've learned that has propelled your business further?
Um, Delegate,
Okay.
and obviously consistency. We all know will always win.
So
It's
let's
a mental toughness, that consistency. Everybody will say I'm consistent, just like they say they're honest. But like I think we spoke about that before once. I'm like, you know when you're consistent, when everybody knows 5 o'clock in the morning, that's where your car is parked. And if it's not there one day, people will call you, where are you? This is how noticeable it needs to be. When you are at that level, this is when you are, it's in every job in life, whatever you do, you volunteer, you do any kind of work, anything. Consistency will always win. And consistent is not just I'm doing it. Like nothing can stop you from doing what you do. This is really what consistency means. Like people around you already know and pick up that, hey, you Arya Scott is parked here at that time every single day.
so what is it that you do that's consistent that produces? I know there's a lot of things, but what's the big rocks that you say these are the core foundation that I am consistent with?
Networking with people every single day. And I'm not a big social media guy, you know that, right? I'm not into social. I don't do social. And sometimes people that know me are like, how do you get to meet them? Like, just go to an event, coffee shop. Everybody has, like I said before, different places where they can meet with people. Let's say you meet with 10 people every single day, right? Just meet with 10 people every single day. It's a game changer.
Hmm. And to meet with 10 people a day, is that just by phone, making calls, or actually face to
Either
face?
referrals, both, either referrals, right? So that you have gotten follow up with them, right? Or you meet them face to face.
Very interesting. And then let me talk about delegation real quick. We're kind of winding up, so I want to be respectful of your time. Um, what have you learned are the things to delegate and the things that you can't really delegate?
Everything that could be done by somebody else and it costs me less money what I'm worth an hour goes to somebody else.
So you work out your how many hours you work, how much you earn, you come up with an hourly wage,
That's
hourly
it.
rate. Okay. And if you can hire it out for cheaper than that, you delegate it out.
Absolutely.
I love it. I mean, that's so brilliant. That's so simple. Most
It's very
people say,
hard. It's very hard to do it, right? Because you're like, oh, I'm spending money. I don't have money. I'm like, you need to invest to make. It's like in every other, you gotta treat it like a real business.
that is so true. Most agents treat it like their own pocketbook, and they don't
Correct.
treat it like a business.
Yeah, that's a problem in the industry because the consumer doesn't get what they deserve.
Right.
When you treat it like a real business, you treat your client differently.
That's so good. So now if you could as we start to wrap up, what are the big things, maybe 2 or 3 things that you've learned most important to do? And we've already talked about these, but if there's anything else, and what are the things that you've learned to stop doing?
What have I learned to do? Never give up. Never. Like never, never, never. If you tell me today you refer me to someone, I will never, never stop following up.
Really?
If somebody connects me with you, I will absolutely try to do everything I can. Never, never give up until they obviously sell the home.
And you have a good CRM that you manage all that through, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't matter the CRM. I mean,
Right.
any
You have a
CRM.
system.
It's just
Right.
about being organized.
That's it. Being organized. All right. You never stop following up. That's impressive. And you're doing your follow-up personally, or is it like just all automated emails and stuff? Personally. So you're making phone calls, you're sending personal
I
emails.
follow up. Correct. I follow up. I barely use drip campaigns, to be honest with you. I know that sounds very, very against today's technology. I use technology for other things. People want their human touch.
So let me make a comment for my listeners because I think this is important. And I think it's okay that I share the price points that you do. Can I share the kind of the price points that you normally sell at? You're selling at a higher level, right? You're in the 7-figure sales in terms of home prices. And when you're dealing with these people, in fact, this was our first conversation. I said, when we're dealing in $1 million homes, those people think and act differently than if they're selling, in a $400,000 home. So you have eliminated, for the most part, automation, and everything you do is personal, which is going to be received extremely well by these people because they know it's authentic.
Any AI tools.
Okay.
People, it just looks funny to most of the people in our market. There's a lot of great features within the technology that I use that doesn't affect the client, obviously.
Okay.
I'm pretty techy. I like technology, but in terms of connecting with people and talking to people,
100% personal.
Yeah.
That's impressive. And no wonder you're doing the business you're doing at that level with those people. I did not catch that in our first call. So what else? So this is never give up. What other things have you learned?
I'm trying to think of a specific line. Sometimes you talk to people, you meet the people, and they respond to you in a way you don't want. This is something I learned over the years, that even if they didn't respond the way you want, you expected, it's got nothing to do with you. You don't know what's going on in somebody else's life. So always be kind, never yell back. Somebody can come into an open house, be nasty, that's fine. I'll still treat them nice, talk nice to them. You never know what they went through, what they're going through, what's in their head. So just be nice to everybody. At the end, if they want to work with you and they see your knowledge, they'll come back to you. I've had it where people walk through open houses to talk about this point, and they weren't, let's say, as friendly, as nice as you would have want. But when they realize that you sort of hit them back with kindness, right? They remember that and they'll come back to you.
Yes. Very powerful. Anything else you can share on the what to do, and then we'll move into the what not to do's?
Nothing comes to mind at a second. I mean, being organized is something I can't stress enough, right? I hope everybody knows that by now. Being organized.
Especially selling real estate, you got to be organized. There's too many hats to wear, too many moving pieces.
Yeah.
So then what have you learned over the years what to stop doing that doesn't work, or it just consumes time, or ineffective?
Obviously, delegate, like I said before, right?
Okay.
Don't do every little thing, even if it's not as good as you do it. It gets done, it's fine. Not everything has to be done by you. Don't try to please everybody. You're not going to please everybody.
Wow, that's important.
You
Don't
just
try to
no
please
way.
everyone. Yep.
What not to do. This actually belongs to what to do. Being patient. Be patient with every client you work. Consistent and patient.
Powerful. And especially when you feel pressure to have to make another sale, be patient, separate yourself, and only.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes you might lose a deal.
Yep.
But you know what? It's better to lose it this way than to be in an unhealthy relationship with a client.
Very powerful. Very good. Anything else that you would like to share before we wrap up? This has been a powerful call.
I think that's pretty much everything.
Well,
I mean, I don't have a lot more to say.
well, you have said a lot. What's interesting is a lot of times, there's these 4 levels of competence. One is called unconsciously incompetent. You don't know what you don't know. Then you start moving and you become consciously incompetent. Now you know what you don't know. And so you start working on that and you become consciously competent. And now if you do that, you become unconsciously competent. And it seems like usually when I talk to the top producers, most of them are unconsciously competent. It's just who you are because you've gone through all this, and it's hard to decipher out what got you where you are and what are the things that keep you consistent. But this has been.
That's 100% true because it becomes nature to you, right?
Yes, second nature.
So when it gets to that step, it's just like, I hope this like I'm telling you now, like I hope this conversation is helpful to some agents because I don't really know exactly what part helps someone if I don't know them, right? It's just a brief overview of what we talked about. It's just so much you can't pack it into a short conversation.
Well, I think the big rocks definitely have come out, and I can guarantee you that this is helpful. Out of all those that I've interviewed, this is from a structural standpoint of just how do you do it as an agent. This comes out on one of the top of the interviews because these are the things that aren't talked about as much and aren't described as much. Just the simple concept of being honest and what that actually means. Because you interview agents and say, "Why should I choose you?" Well, I'm honest. Well, I would hope so. But what does that really mean, right? And how does it come across to that client of what honesty is versus what happened with me with someone else where I felt that they were being disingenuous with me because they had an ulterior motive. And how do you come across honest so it doesn't come across that you have an ulterior motive? So things like that. So this has been really, really good.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. So Arya, thank you. And then for my listeners, don't forget to subscribe. And I'll always put the plug in. I remember a guy said, "How do you sell 1 million books?" He said, "You have to be shamelessly promoting your book anywhere." So I'll shamelessly promote. If you want marketing, postcards, or things of that sort to find sellers, go to agentdominator.com. And y'all have a very blessed day.
You can use my testimonial for that. Absolutely.
Have you enjoyed Agent Dominator? Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
So, well, thank you for that. And if you haven't figured it out yet, Arya is one of our clients, and we love working with you, Arya.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, please do 2 things. Number 1, please share this on social media so other people can enjoy it. And number 2, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to either our YouTube channel or our podcast audio channel that you'll find on any audio player with your mobile phone. And then that way you won't miss another episode. Also, if you want help generating listings, please visit our website at agentdominator.com where we guarantee them or give your money back. Thanks again for listening to the Get Sellers Calling You podcast, and have a very blessed day.